Well, it's now more than 15 years since the U.S. invaded Afghanistan on the pretext of going after Osama bin Laden, who was falsely held to be responsible for the September 11th, 2001 attacks. And the Taliban had offered to turn bin Laden over to the International Criminal Court as long as evidence were supplied, indicating that he might have had a role in that terrorist event. And Bush said, we know he's guilty. That is, we don't need evidence. So this led to the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan. And now, as the official story tells us, bin Laden died midway into the Obama administration. Other sources say bin Laden died of kidney failure in 2001. In either case, he's gone, but the U.S. is still in Afghanistan. What's going on? Well, this latest announcement from the U.S. military that the new strategy involves bombing drug labs is quite humorous, given that the U.S. went into Afghanistan, in reality, largely to protect the heroin industry. Just as the Vietnam War was heavily driven by the fact that at that time most of the world's heroin was coming from the Golden Triangle in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, today the heroin epicenter has moved with the CIA's area of interest to Afghanistan. The Taliban had shut down opium production in Afghanistan, and this was not tolerable to the deep state, which profits to the tune of $1.5 trillion per year from the heroin industry, which it then moves in a shell game through various banks and corporations and leverages it into vastly more money than that. So they invaded Afghanistan in large part to restore the opium industry. And indeed, there was zero opium being produced from Afghanistan before the U.S. invasion. The first year, the first thing the U.S. did was release all the drug lords, set them up, and tell them to plant away. Within 2 years, Afghanistan was setting world records every single year in opium production as U.S. troops guarded the poppy fields and supported the creation of a number of labs refining the opium into heroin, and it was then transported to the West in Global Hawks, a U.S. military vehicle that can fly all the way around the world without refueling. So that's where we stand today. Now they're announcing that they're going after the drug labs. They're bombing the drug labs. Just as in Syria, ISIS or Daesh was both the excuse for U.S. intervention and a very profitable tool to use against the Syrian government, here in Afghanistan, the drug issue is both an excuse for the U.S. to be there and, in fact, a highly profitable industry for the U.S. military or the corrupt elements therein. So it looks like we're moving into an even more Orwellian strategy in which they'll be using this extremely profitable heroin industry not only as a cash cow, but also as an excuse to stay in Afghanistan forever at the expense of the people dying of heroin overdoses here in big cities in the United States, at the expense of the U.S. taxpayer, and at the expense of world stability. So once again, this is bad news for those of us who wish our country here in the United States would live up to its ideals, but it's good news for the mafia, the international mafia that controls the drug trafficking industry.